Hey guys, welcome to another live Chino's Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribing to the channel, getting in the chat, letting me know how you guys are thinking and feeling. I am excited today to talk to you guys about a couple of different things. We're going to be talking about Gyokeres. Those links seem to be continuing to fester. We'll talk about the legitimacy of those links and whether or not it'd be a good idea to sign Victor Gyokeres from Sporting. We're also going to talk about the latest on Mikel Merino. Emile Smith-Rowe has arrived in Portugal to do preseason with Fulham. That deal is done. It was a done deal yesterday. He did his medical. It's done, So Mikel Merino, that deal should actually start to accelerate from now. And then I also want to talk about Ethan and his role, because there has been I would say like not that legitimate, but a little bit of a rumor about Morgan Gibbs-White, but and Arsenal having interest in him, and if it would be a good idea to bring in another creative midfielder, knowing that Ethan Nwaneri is supposed to be integrated in. So yeah, make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel and all that kind of stuff, and getting in the chat and letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. I am just going to grab a link because just a little bit of housekeeping. We are going to be doing a watch along for the Liverpool game tomorrow. It will start about 15 minutes prior to kickoff. So that's like 4:15 p.m. my time. If you guys are around, if you guys decide to stay up for the game, I think that will be for you guys in the UK starting in like midnight. If you guys are going to be up for that, make sure you guys join the watch along. It should be a good time. We're going to be doing it on TIFO, which is the platform in which I always do my watch along. So I will go ahead and drop the link in the chat right now, and you guys can go ahead and sign up for it there. Shamaria says, hey, Jess, hello to you as well. Emilio says, your glasses bigger than Arsenal. Thanks. I love big glasses. So, and actually like clean them before I started, because Bex is always like licking the glasses. So they're actually clear right now, which is like a good thing. And Tawana says, why is there no update on Eddie and Nelson? There's no update on Eddie or Nelson because there's probably nothing to report. Arsenal or not, they have not made any inroads with Leicester or Marseille. And I can go ahead and tell you guys the most recent stuff on that in just a second. I just want to check the stream and make sure everything looks okay. Give me one sec. It looks blurry for me. Does it look blurry for you guys? Hold on. Oh, it was like not focused. That's why. There we go. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. Okay, so the latest on Nelson is that he was being looked at by Leicester City, right? If I'm looking to this side, it's because my monitor is on this side. So let's go ahead and see what was the last thing that we saw from that. So Nelson, Leicester. Let's see. Let's see. So yeah, on July 24th. So it's now July 30th. So it's been a couple of days now since this has come out from Fabrizio Romano. But Leicester open talks with Arsenal for Reece Nelson, loan with an obligation to buy, and talks over financial terms with Arsenal. Leicester confident they can persuade Nelson if the club come to terms, as he's previously worked with Steve Cooper. So that was 6 days ago. So I don't know what's going on from now, but that was, what they were talking about about 6 days ago. In terms of Eddie, Arsenal are asking for 50 million euros, and Marseille are having a hard time coming up with the money. Surprise. So I'm not sure what's going on with those two, but we also know that Arsenal like to work deal by deal by deal. So it may be the case that they wanted to get Emile Smith Rowe out. Now they're going to get Merino done, and then they'll go back with Reece Nelson and Eddie and Nketiah and try to figure that out. So, yeah, I wouldn't freak out about it just yet. We know that things take time, and we have about 2.5 more weeks until the season actually starts. So I wouldn't panic just yet for those of you guys that are wanting those deals to go through. So let's go ahead and get into what we actually want to talk about, which is, let's start up with the Victor Gyokeres stuff, because I know people are getting anxious. There is a pretty legitimate rumor going around, or reports going around, that Chelsea are going to do a loan with an option for Victor Osimhen, and Lukaku is going to go to Napoli in the other direction. And so I know that is going to start the panic. That is going to start the panic from Arsenal fans around well, why aren't we signing a striker? What are we going to do striker wise? We can't start the season with Havertz. We can't do Havertz. We can't do this. We can't do that. Osimhen never really felt like a real target for us, because I think if we wanted him, we would have went after him. He's been sitting around for a while at Napoli, and they're having a hard time selling him. So, and he's a huge Chelsea fan. And so I feel like that always kind of felt like the natural direction that they would go in, is he would go to Chelsea. So now Arsenal. Hold on. Beckham? He's outside. He's outside and he's making noise, and it's worrying me. But yeah, so what are we going to do striker wise? So the Gyokeres rumors have never really went away, but they're not really from credible sources. They're coming from Portugal. They're coming from gossip kind of magazines over yonder. And so I'm not really sure if we want to spend that much time, thinking about it until an Ornstein or Fabrizio or somebody like that, says something about it. But yeah, there are reports coming out of Portugal and less than credible outlets that Arsenal's next priority after Calafiori will be Gyokeres. The reason why I don't feel very confident in this, or I don't really think that this is something that we need to be paying too much attention to, is just because just even from a squad building perspective, I'm just trying to understand okay, so you have Gyokeres, you're going to have Havertz, you're also going to have Jesus. That's a lot of, and then you also have Trossard, who's also better centrally. We're still not going to solve the issue of the winger situation. There's still not going to be a natural replacement for Saka. So it doesn't really feel like something that makes sense. It feels like it would make more sense if Jesus were to go. Gyokeres also would cost quite a bit of money, and Arteta has already said he's already said that not to expect a big signing to come in, or almost like a Declan Rice type signing, expensive signing. So Gyokeres would cost quite a bit. So I'm not sure why this rumor is still floating about. They're saying that, our scouts have been at their preseason watching Gyokeres. It just doesn't feel like it's something that we're really doing. It feels more like maybe they're trying to drum up interest for him. Maybe they expected more teams would be interested in him, maybe whatever. So yeah, but more importantly, I want to get your guys' opinion on whether or not Arsenal should be in for a striker. Do you guys feel like we have enough firepower? Is bringing in a winger enough? Because I get the striker situation. I do think it needs to be addressed. I'm just not sure that it'll be addressed this summer, because we haven't, I do believe Arteta is going to trust Jesus for another season. So Jesus being trusted for another season plus Havertz, it doesn't feel like that spot is open, but we did go for Sesko. So maybe Arsenal are looking at a striker and they're just going to keep it under wraps. What do you guys think? Because I like the idea of bringing in a forward in general. I'm just not sure that I believe it's a striker, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I go back and forth. Aran says, I think we should get a direct winger instead of a striker. Duana says, any good winger would cost a good fee. I hate this Saka backup thing. I want a competitor for Saka, somebody who will kick him out the first time. I just don't really believe that that's realistic. I think really you want somebody that can bring up the level of our winger options on both sides. But the idea that Saka is going to have real competition, who's actually going to come in? Like if you're, let's say, like the problem that we had with Bakayoko. Bakayoko is a right winger. He doesn't play on the left. He plays on the right primarily. He's an up and coming 21-year-old, very good winger, like somebody that I would love to see the club sign. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Yohan Bakayoko of PSV. The problem is, and something that his agent said is that, or not really an agent, but one of the like well-known journalists in the Netherlands was saying that his camp don't know if it's the right move for him to go to Arsenal knowing that Saka is there. And so I'm just wondering who is actually going to come to Arsenal knowing that Saka's here, because as much as maybe you're not that keen on Saka or you think he needs this competition, realistically, he's a nailed on starter for Arsenal, and every team in the world has players that just don't have competition in the team. It is a fallacy that every team like that, every single player is going to have competition for their spot. I don't know what just happened. It just turned off for a second. But it is a fallacy that there are players in a team that like everybody has competition. And I just feel like Saka is not going to have competition for Arsenal. I'll be honest, So Saka, Saliba, Odegaard are players that are not going to have real competition. Hold on. What is going on with this dog? Beckham. Beckham, come in, honey. Beckham. Beckham. I'm going to go grab him. Give me 2 seconds. Come here. Come on, honey. Jeez. Stay inside? Can you stay inside just for a little bit? Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. I'm back. I had to grab him. Because he was wanting to get out of the gate. But yeah. I don't know what to say. My dog's crazy. But yeah, there are just some players in the team that are not going to have like true competition. I think Saka is one of them. That's why I'm a big advocate for getting somebody that can play on both sides, so that it's not really like a competition thing. It's more of like just bringing up the level of the team. So yeah, like I just don't feel like Saka is going to have actual competition for his position ever. Ron says, I think I read that one. Carol says Sane was linked again. Sane to me is just not the right profile. You guys know I'm not a big fan of the idea of Sane. I don't think he adds any dynamism to the team. I think he also looks a little bit bereft of confidence. And so I'd rather not get somebody that needs to be like brought back up or reinvigorated. He just doesn't seem like the right guy, but that's just me. In ISNG says we need a different profile. KDB does not have competition, but there are different types of number 10s in the squad to help the game states KDB struggles in. And yeah, it's not, to me, it's not like, and that's the difference between like the Saka conversation for me is not necessarily about him having competition. It's about having another direct winger, somebody with some speed that can bring a different dynamic. Right now, when you look at the winger options that we have, beyond Martinelli, everybody kind of wants the ball to feet. Saka wants ball to feet. If you put Jesus on the wing, he's going to want the ball to feet. Trossard's going to want ball to feet. We need somebody that can kind of run in behind and have that like that frightening pace, or like even somebody that's trickier on the ball. Because I don't think any of our wingers are how do I say this without people being like, oh, of course they're good at 1v1s. You don't have anybody with the dribbling ability of like a Doku, so having a different type of profile is kind of more what I'm thinking of, more than Saka needs competition, because like realistically, like he's probably going to start every single game. Like, let's be for real, and I think he pretty much has earned the right to do so. He's our star, so we have more issues on the left-hand side and center forward than we do at right wing, our right-hand side for all intents and purposes is like one of the best right sides in the league. So I'm not quite sure why that would be like a priority. Goyan says, I really wish we could sell Martinelli for Rodrigo, but dreamers can dream. I wouldn't. I'm still like on the fence about selling Martinelli. I don't really feel like we're quite there yet. But if we could get Rodrigo on top of everything, that'd be great. But selling Martinelli just feels so harsh at the minute. But I hear you. John P says, I kind of think Rafinha for the right price is a decent option. And he plays on both sides, or he can play on both sides. He's kind of fits that, that description that they were saying we want more like of the Trossard, Jorginho types. He would be kind of that. And he has Champions League experience. He's, a Brazilian international. He's played in the Premier League before, and we wanted him before. But if I had my druthers, I'd rather us. We'd basically be giving Barcelona the money in order to get Nico Williams. If Nico Williams is super sold on Barcelona, which I feel like he may, then it's a waste of time. But Arsenal would know better than me. They know where his head is at. So I would feel a little bit bitter that we'd be giving them the money to get the player that we actually wanted first. But, it is what it is. Nishan says, Jess, what is your next appearance on AFTV? I have no idea. It's when somebody is missing, they ask me to come on. And so I don't know when my next appearance is, but I'm hoping to do more of the Forever Arsenal whenever somebody is missing, because I really enjoy it. But I'll definitely get James on before the season starts. I saw James in LA the other day I saw him for the Bournemouth game. And he's just like the best. So I'm definitely going to get him on the channel again. But yeah, H says Rafinha is mid. Do I think Rafinha is mid? Do you guys think Rafinha is mid? Like, is he mid, or is he just? Well, let me put it this way. Would Rafinha push? Where would he sit in our depth chart? Like, is Rafinha coming in on the left over Trossard? Is Rafinha coming in on the right over Jesus? Is he knocking on the door for a starting position? Like, what is it? Because I don't actually think he's mid. I think he's a good player, but is he, like, his ceiling is what it is. He's pretty much as good as he's ever going to be. He's like 28 years old or something like that. So whatever he is now is whatever he's going to be. You can change his environment and get a little bit more out of him, but genuinely he is where he's going to be at. So I don't know if I believe that he's mid. I just feel like he's, like we said, he's more of a Trossard type that's going to fill in a squad role than somebody that's going to take somebody's spot. So I don't want to be disingenuous and say that I think Rafinha is mid, because I don't. So yeah, I actually would like him more than I would like Sane. And that's probably maybe controversial. I just don't think Sane has what we are looking for, but that's just me. Um, so Lionide says Rafinha is definitely not mid. Yeah, I don't think he's mid. I think that's harsh. Michael says Rafinha isn't mid, but he's not great. He's just good. So are we all kind of feeling like we'd want a striker over a winger? Because I'm hearing a lot of winger conversations, not so much about the striker. I don't love the striker market, but we did try to get Sesko. We did try to get Sesko like that. We have yet to try to get a winger, but we've definitely tried to get a striker. So, you know, hey, maybe we are in the cut, kind of like maybe a striker would be a better option. But again, that would throw questions to me about the Kai Havertz signing. I'm still kind of on the, well, why did we get him if he's just going to be a squad guy? Because I feel like if you buy a striker, I guess it could be like a Germany situation. Like Gyokeres definitely would give the Germany situation. You have Kai Havertz starting the game, and if you can't score a goal, like the Fulkrug kind of guy comes on. But yeah, I don't know. Drum says Kudus from West Ham. I was actually telling a friend this the other day. If he's on the market, I would try to get him. I saw that Aston Villa is trying to get him, and I just thought, if Aston Villa are trying to get him, why are we not? I know that they have a player in play with that Jean Duran or whatever. So Jean Duran would go one way, and Kudus would go the other. But genuinely, offer them Reece Nelson, plus 60 million or some shit, and go get Kudus. Like it's that serious. He's that good. I would like Kudus. I feel like he would solve a lot of our problems with, right wing. He can play central. Like he's so good. I want it. I want it. I want it. Like that would be, to me, Calafiori, Merino, and Kudus would be a great window. Like I'm taking that all day long. Michael says, I know people won't like it, but we're definitely going to see Havertz in midfield a lot this season. Do you think? Actually, I'm not sure, because if you get Merino, it automatically like takes away the opportunity for Kai to play in midfield. Like the exact role that Arteta wanted Kai Havertz to play, Merino would be doing that role. So again, like bringing in a striker and bringing in Merino, there was a lot of question marks around the Kai Havertz signing, because as good as he did in 2024, we'd basically be spending, let's say, 80 million on two players that play the roles that he was supposed to play. So, and Havertz, to me, on the wages that he's on, is not giving squad guy. And so, yeah, I'd have a lot of questions around why we brought him in. So, yeah. Let's see. Nuances of Fate says we need a striker. However, we cut it. We shouldn't have bought Havertz. We are trying to cope with him. Yeah, I don't want to say cope, but I'll just say that, it just throws a lot of question marks on the signing, because the wages that he's on does not equal a squad player. ISNG says, will Kudus be content with playing second fiddle, especially given how similar he is to Nwaneri? I mean, the only way that I'd bring in a player that plays in similar positions as Nwaneri is if they're a superstar. That's why when we're, the conversations about Morgan Gibbs White rub me the wrong way, because I'm like, genuinely, like I get that he's better than Nwaneri now, but if you give Nwaneri 2 years, he's going to be just as good as Morgan Gibbs White. Morgan Gibbs White is like, this might be selling him short, but I feel like he's kind of like a Buendia level attacking midfielder in the Premier League. Like he's good. He looks good on lower level teams, but on a team that's trying to fight for titles, he's definitely a squad guy, and a talented one at that. but not anything to write home about. His level to me doesn't strike me as world class, best in his position levels. Like he's just a really good player. He's a player I really like, by the way. So I don't feel like he makes sense to block Nwaneri. Kudus does. Kudus does. You bring in Kudus, and as Nwaneri would have to take like a more of a back seat, but genuinely, even Kudus plays like more positions than Morgan Gibbs White does anyway. So my thing is, if you're gonna block a talent of Nwaneri's level, it has to be a player that has superstar potential or talent. Kudus is that. He comes into our team and gives us X factor, the X factor that we've been looking for. He gives us goals that nobody else can score. I told my friend this the other day. Nobody in our team is scoring a bicycle kick against Manchester City. They don't even have the audacity to do so. And that's not to shade the players that we have. It's just the truth. So if you're going to block Nwaneri or make his path to first team football or his path to starting a little bit harder, it has to be for a talent that is like you just can't pass up. Kudus is that. I would give West Ham 80 million for Kudus tomorrow. Multiple positions, Premier League proven, young, X factor, star, all that shit. He has it all, so that's the only reason why I do it. Not for a Morgan Gibbs White. I don't even know if Eze is on that level. I think Kudus is clear, so but I like him. Like I like Kudus a lot. So yeah. Shamaria says he's a Spurs level signing. Yeah, I think like and this may come back to bite me because I'm sure that they'll buy players like this and they'll be a good team, but Tony, Morgan Gibbs White, they're players that would look really good at Spurs. But for us, I think we need to look a little bit like better. Like we need to look for better players than that. But that's just me. Matthew says, so you're saying we should dismiss the news of Arsenal buying a striker and focus news on Merino, who fills in at center mid. I wouldn't say I'm not saying dismiss it. I'm just saying Merino has that link has been like reported on by more credible sources. So I'm not saying dismiss Gyokeres at all. Like there's links there, but I'm not as like I'm not feeling like it's imminent. I'm not feeling like it's happening just because like to be honest, I haven't seen anybody of any credible, like literally Ornstein said we're not bringing a striker in. And Arteta said we're not signing, like we're not making any big signings. So, just going with that, I am dismissing it just a little bit, but that could change. We could sell Eddie and then all of a sudden we're linked with strikers, so that's all I'm saying. But Merino, who we should probably get on to now, Fabrizio Romano actually spoke about Merino, basically saying that it's like, I don't want to say it's happening, but I mean, he basically said the other day that once Emil is sold, it will expedite the process. He said that a couple of days ago. And now that he's sold, the shit is expediting. So he basically said on YouTube about an hour ago that both Barcelona and Atletico Madrid feel that Merino is giving total priority to Arsenal. You guys know how we operate. We get personal terms agreed with the player, and then we can slow down the process. Once we know that the player is only coming to us, the process is in our hands. We can negotiate the fee that we want because there's no longer a bidding war, because we have the player kind of sewed up, and then we can go at our pace. We can allow the other team to get a replacement. We can take our time with it. And that's basically what seems like with Merino, is that he's now sold on the project. And now that Emil has gone, we can focus all of our time and effort on this signing. This is going to be a very very controversial signing for the Arsenal fan base. This is going to definitely divide the fan base, and I completely understand why. I totally understand why Merino is not going to be universally loved by this fan base from minute one. He's not coming from a a top team that we would consider a top team. He's not coming from Real Madrid. He's not coming from Barca. He's not coming from Bayern. Not coming from any of those teams. He's not coming from the Premier League. A lot of Premier League fans only watch the Premier League, so they don't know much about him. They've never really heard of him. He was behind Fabian Ruiz in the pecking order for Spain in the Euros. So in their minds, he's not better than Fabian Ruiz, so he must not be that good. I've never heard of him before. He's not costing a lot, so fee also comes into mind. If we're not spending 60, 70 million on him, he must not be any good. And so there are just people that feel like it's just not that good of a signing. And we also went into the transfer window feeling like we were going to get a marquee midfield signing. I remember sitting here earlier on in the summer window saying, we need a marquee signing in midfield, period. And I still feel like we need a marquee signing in midfield. The reason why we're not getting one is because Thomas Partey is not leaving. So Thomas Partey is going to be the starter. And that's just what we just have to hold that. Like, that's just what it is. He doesn't go. We don't have the wages and the space to bring in another starting level midfielder, somebody of that like level. So what ends up happening is we have to bring in somebody that fills a role that we need, that can lift the floor of the squad and can give us better options, maybe off the bench or better options in general, but is probably not going to cost that much. And that's where Merino comes in at 20 million, 28 years old, heavily experienced. And again, as somebody that's actually watched Real Sociedad quite a bit in the last season, he is going to surprise a lot of Arsenal fans, because just like people were surprised that Spain were good in the Euros, they thought that they were washed and they ended up being the best team. Spain has some of the best midfield talent that you can buy. Spain are still producing ballers. I don't know what to tell you. Newsflash. You want a technical, smart, good, tactically astute midfielder, get one from Spain, because they're producing them ad nauseum. They really are. And Moreno is one of them. I know that he played for Newcastle before and he wasn't a household name. I get that. But shit happens. It wasn't too long ago where Xhaka was a known flop at Arsenal, and then now all of a sudden he's one of the best midfielders in the world. You can have a rough go of it. You can need to change your environment. Time needs to go past, and the opinion of a player can change. And so I'm not saying he's going to blow your socks off. I'm not saying that he is going to be a game-changing signing for us in terms of like change our lives, but I do feel like he's going to surprise a lot of Arsenal fans, because in general, I feel like the knowledge about him is quite low. Like, there's not a lot of knowledge on him, and what they have decided that he is a less good version of Xhaka, and he has so much more to his game, and that Havertz role that Arteta was trying to get Havertz to do, but he couldn't do, he's going to smash that role. He's going to own that role. He is so perfect for that. Box crashing, aerial duels, winning the duels on the ground, but he can pick a fucking pass. He can pass 5 yards between the lines, crosses from the half space, all of that. He has it all, so not shiny, not Bruno Guimaraes, not going to get the juices flowing, but definitely, to me, stamp of approval for me, because I've been asking for a number 8 for so fucking long. We have not had just a simple midfielder for a while. 10s and 6s. We're trying to make 6s into 8s. We're trying to make 10s into 8s. We're going to actually have one. So I expect this deal to get done soon, and that's going to be really interesting, because if we can get it done before we go to the Emirates Cup, it's going to be really interesting to see how Arteta starts off the season. Is he going to go with, Merino and Declan Rice in midfield, or is he going to go for Partey and Declan Rice? I'm so interested, to see what happens with that. But would love to see your guys' opinions again. I know we talked about it yesterday, but I wanted to give you guys an update because that is a significant update. A significant update that Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are like, he definitely wants to go to Arsenal. He's been convinced. It's over. It's done. It's done, you know? So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Lionite said, what about Moreno's pace, Jess? He's not fast. He's not fast. But do you need pace in midfield? I'm not sure if you need pace in midfield. I think we think about pace at center back, full backs, forwards, but in midfield, I'm not sure a team that, especially a positional team, juego de posición, is really needing pace. Especially because like we dominate games. So I'm not about to sit here and like say that he's fast or anything like that, but he's faster than Xhaka, but I don't think he's pacey, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't think he's not somebody that's going to run beyond everybody, but like when we played with Xhaka in midfield, was that a problem? No. Like when we had Thomas Partey's Xhaka in the year that we first like challenged for a title, we really weren't talking about Xhaka's pace, were we? So I don't really think it's about pace. Anybody that's about to sit here and lie to my face and be like, oh, but pace is important in midfield. I mean, no, not really. Y'all want Bruno Guimaraes. Bruno Guimaraes ain't fast. Be serious. Like João Neves isn't fast. No, they're not fast, so it's not about pace, especially if he's not playing at the base of your midfield. But we genuinely play with Declan Rice at the base. We play Partey at the base. We play Jorginho at the base. None of them are fast, so it's not about pace. I think intelligence is really important in midfield. Defensive awareness, positioning, reading the game is really important in midfield. And then technical ability, range of passing is really important, in my opinion, for this particular position. For the Martinelli merchants, you definitely want somebody that can pick that pass in between the fullback and the center back in the seam for Martinelli. And somebody that can do those crosses from the half space, I think is important. And just understands how to control the game. I think he has all those things, but is he going to like, he's not going to be he's not, how do I explain it? Because I don't want to sell him short, because I don't think he's just like, it's not like buying El Neni as a squad player. Like, it's not like that. I think he's going to give us more impact, like probably similar impact as Trossard and Jorginho, but more, just because we were literally making it work in midfield last season. We were patching shit up. The fact that we were so good last season, despite having an imbalanced midfield for so long, is a testament to the how good we are, because we were definitely making it work. People were doing a job. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think his impact is going to be probably more than Jorginho or Trossard, just because of the lack of balance that we had in midfield. But he's not going to be like a Bruno Guimaraes signing, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really like him. But I also really like Real Sociedad. I'm partial to the players there, so maybe it's just a little bit of that. Matthew says, I remember a deal a witch made a long ago with a girl on the streets of Chelsea. Not sure I've been much of a boon. I don't know what this means. What does this mean, honey? What does that mean? Winning Way says, João Gomez for Wolves is the answer. After the season, nearly every big team will want him. He was good for Wolves, but like the amount of teams that need a midfielder that aren't even looking at him is crazy. So he fouls a fucking lot, that guy. But yeah, maybe we're missing something with him. Let's see. Tawana says, Cruz, Modric, Xavi, Iniesta, no pace. Yeah, exactly. Like, people that are saying we need pace in midfield are just say you don't want Moreno. Like, just say that. I feel like that's more honest than saying that we need pace in midfield, because we don't. We don't have any pacey midfielders in midfield. And good team, like, hello? Is Rodri fast? Is Bernardo Silva fast? Is KDB fast? No, they're not fast. We need smart players in midfield with a good range of passing. Seriously. You know, Shamaria says Merino is a shrewd signing. He might enable us to spend more on an attacker, and that's the hope. The hope is that getting a good deal for Calafiori and buying Moreno and it not being that expensive will free up whatever funds we have left for a top quality attacker. I'm hoping it's somebody that we haven't really heard of yet, because the people that we're linked with now, it's not all about exciting, but they just feel very like we're picking the best out of a so-so bunch. And there's huge red flags on like almost everyone. Um, I'm hoping that we're working on something big behind the scenes and it's not, you know, Sane, 'cause that is not it, but maybe even Sane, could change my mind. Maybe he's better than I think. But just watching him, he just feels bereft of any confidence. Um, and that doesn't make me happy. So yeah. Well, Nuances of Fate says, I'm hoping it's Gyokeres. We'll see. Samuel says, Mikel Merino have agreed on personal terms of 4-year contract. Let me look at that. He's so coming. Like, I'm not even like concerned about it. And like, if I'm gonna be real, those first couple of weeks were really boring. I don't know if you guys were watching then, but first couple of weeks of the transfer window was really boring. The Euros were going on, nothing was really happening, but I feel a lot more calm about this window than I did the last window. I think coming off of the back of a really painful season at the end, not this last season, but the season prior, in the way that we lost the league, put the stress level up a lot more. This summer, I'm a lot more like, I feel like it's really obvious what we need. I feel like it's fine, so I know this is going to get done. Merino is most likely going to be an Arsenal player, and I just know he's going to surprise so many people. Like, I feel very calm about this signing because I know what it is. Despite feeling like I would have preferred to be able to do the marquee midfield signing. So Sports Zone are saying Arsenal have reached an agreement with Merino on a 4-year contract. The next step is to reach an agreement with Real Sociedad, which is going to be hopefully easy. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it because then we know we're still going to get an attacker. And yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you guys too, because I haven't seen a lot about it and I feel like it wouldn't happen. But so if, like, let's say we could get this player, would you want us to try to go for him? The player is Julian Alvarez. I saw us linked to him. Chelsea also linked to him. He has made it pretty clear that I feel like he's made it pretty clear that he's open to leaving. He wants more playing time. And as a 24-year-old that's really talented, I do feel like he wants to, like, he would want to leave. Manchester City said, like, there was rumors that they would never sell to us again. Probably not, but would you guys want him? Would you guys want Julian Alvarez? Do you like him? Like, I feel like he's really good, but something about him makes me feel like, you know what it is? I think for me, it's because he's coming from Man City. I just don't want anybody with their vibe on them because of how Zinchenko's kind of panned out, and, Jesus as well. And so you kind of want somebody without them on them. I don't want that. I'm kind of over Man City players and Chelsea players. Even though I think Julian Alvarez is very good, it's just something in the back of my mind that's just like, is he gonna be like Jesus in them? But maybe that's just my fear. But he is very good. He is really, really good. He has so much. He can do the creative stuff. He scores goals. And I do feel like he's a better goal scorer than Jesus. But yeah, um, I don't think he is another version of Jesus, though, Samuel. I think he's a better goal scorer than Jesus is. I just don't feel like he plays as much as he should be because he's behind Holland, obviously. But every time I look up, he's scoring goals, you know? Yeah. But yeah, maybe we do need something different. Maybe somebody with more height and physical presence and pace. And it would be too samey, but I do feel like he's a better goal scorer than Jesus. But that's just me. Nuances of Fate says, I think Alvarez wants Spain. I think he hates Manchester. I mean, the thing is about like Alvarez is he's probably dreaming of going to Real Madrid or something like that. The problem that he's going to have is that Manchester City are not going to want to sell him for cheap, and the only teams that are able to afford what they would want are Premier League teams. But do Manchester City want to have another Palmer situation on their hands, or do they want to sell another player to Arsenal, who are their closest, challengers for the title? So maybe they would make the fee lower to sell him abroad so that they don't have that problem. But I think he's made it pretty clear that he wants to leave, because he didn't say no. He said, we'll think about it after the Olympics. And for me, that means I'm definitely thinking about leaving. Um, but I do think it is a little. I do feel like when you watch him, you see more of a goal scorer than you do with Jesus. He does shoot a lot more. He scores goals kind of like very often. He doesn't go through long goal droughts. He scores a lot for Argentina. I think he is a better goal scorer than Jesus, but is he different enough? Is he different enough? I think that's the question. Uwan says he seems more lethal than Jesus. D Brown says, I don't want any Argentinians at Arsenal. You know why? You don't need to tell me. Lionide says Alvarez link-up play is suspect, very suspect. Winning Way says Alvarez should go PSG or Liverpool. Shamaria says, I mean, he might be different because he's younger, but I don't know if he's what we need. I feel like the striker market hopefully heals and we can go after somebody that all of us are like, that makes, that's perfect. I just don't feel like that player, we've seen them yet. I think Sesko made sense as a market opportunity. Gyokeres makes sense in certain ways, but like, I know we all want like an Isak. I know that's what we all want, but the players that we're talking about aren't that. And so maybe being patient would be a better thing, but it's like going through another season without a striker feels like it feels risky. So do we rush and get somebody that's not perfect? I don't know. So yeah. Let's see. Lionide says disruption of fluidity, sign Alvarez. Winning Way says, same bro. We have one of the best players in the world. Gyokeres reminds me of Diego Costa and Suarez. I really do I like Gyokeres. Do I think we're gonna get him though? I don't know. But let's see. Once we sell, I think things will become a lot more clear once we sell Nketiah and Reece Nelson. I think it'll be more obvious what we're gonna try to do attacking wise. Because I know we're gonna get an attacker. I just don't know if it's gonna be a winger or a striker. I'm leaning towards winger. But you can also make the argument that if you buy a striker, Jesus becomes, depth on both wings, and that's probably a better place for him anyway, so maybe the club are thinking about it from that perspective. But who knows? It's such a question mark. It's such a question mark. Blaze says, Jess, the striker market, this transfer window is strange, even though Simon struggled to leave Napoli, because I think clubs are like, I don't want to spend a lot on somebody that has a lot of like red flags. I think that's what it is. Because I just feel like none of these players are giving like sure thing. They're giving like, so I don't know. Keenan says Alvarez has bang goals in the Prem. Gyokeres won't hit 20 goals this season for us. Alvarez can. I do think Gyokeres could easily hit 20 goals per season. If you took away half of his goals from the season that he just had, he's easily going to score 20 goals. Like Kai Havertz in half of a season scored 12 at striker. So Gyokeres is definitely scoring 20 goals. Alvarez is definitely more of a sure thing, though. Shamaria says, Jess, which striker do you think we go for this window if we didn't get Havertz last summer? If we didn't get Havertz last summer, I think we would have. If we didn't get Havertz last summer, I think we would have gone for. I don't know. That's a good one. That's a good question because the market's still what it is. Osimhen maybe. Because Havertz might still be at Chelsea, so maybe they wouldn't have the space, but they still buy even though they have space. I don't know. I don't know because the market is still what it is. So I don't know. I don't know. I think Arsenal wants something specific and they don't really see it there. So I don't know. We should go for freaking Kudus. Jordan Davis says, would have gone for Kudus. The fact that we went for him, I feel like the fact that we went for him and we really wanted him, and then he ended up going West Ham because we couldn't get the sales. We should go back in. We should go back in. I'm sorry. We should go back in. He changed agents. He's like, get me out of West Ham. I don't want this shit. Like, I'm ready to leave. Like, go back, man. Dennis says, my feeling before the window even opened was Isak or nothing. I'm honestly ready to wait a whole year for a striker and not have to rush for someone who won't fix the spot permanently. That's a take. That's a good take. I kind of agree with that. Like, I'm scared of going into another season without, but that's why I feel like if you brought in somebody like Kudus, it would make more sense because you could wait for the striker signing another year for the market to heal, or maybe you could go after Isak, but you would still bring in the X factor that we are missing. The X factor doesn't always have to come from a striker. It could come from midfield. It can come from the winger or another attacker. And so I'd prefer that. Like, I'd much prefer that than going after these kind of options that don't feel like the one, because I do feel like the club feel like Isak is the one. Like, I do feel like that's what they think. And they try to go for Sesko because Sesko is kind of like, could become like an Isak in a couple of years. But Gyokeres is nothing like Isak. He's good and I love him and I would take him, but he's not like Isak. He's just not. Alvarez is not like Isak. They're, so maybe we just wait. We just wait. Dale says Alvarez played same minutes as Havertz. I know the statement will have you screaming into the night, but Alvarez striker and Havertz 8-second striker. I almost guarantee it. Shamaria says Kudus can also play false 9. I deal with West Ham again to get Kudus, and that's saying a lot because that was a fucking nightmare. Dealing with West Ham last summer was a nightmare, and I was like, we should never deal with them again. I would go back in and deal with another nightmare from Mohamed Kudus. He's that good. Like, he's so good. X Factor. Bicycle kick against Man City. Not a single player in our team is doing that shit. Not one. I want it. But I mean, if Aston Villa end up with him, I think I'll just die. Seriously. Like, I'm hating it already. The idea that they're going to send Duran over there and Kudus is going to go the other way. Like, that's death. Like, come on. Dennis says West Ham are the absolute worst. Their fans as well. Flipping heck. Yeah. They were really annoying last season. They really were. Keenan says Alvarez had 11 goals and 9 assists last season. He's a baller. Alvarez is good. Like, I'm not even about to, but my whole thing is like, I'm not about to pretend like I think Gyokeres won't score 20 goals a season in the Premier League to prop up Alvarez, because Gyokeres is he's 100% going to be like, he comes to the Premier League, if he plays for the right team, he's scoring 20 goals per season. But Alvarez is a sure thing. I think you put him in our team and he is going to score 20 goals per season. He's going to get a lot of assists as well. I think he is a better goal scorer than Jesus, and it's not even that close. Like, he scores loads of goals for his national team. He scores goals for City. He also is good at taking free kicks. He's, but the difference also between Alvarez and Jesus/Zinchenko is it's not obvious for Man City to get rid of Alvarez. I think City want to keep Alvarez. He wants to go for more playing time, where Jesus and Zinchenko were being phased out. They were already being phased out of the team when we came and got them. So I wouldn't even classify Alvarez as a leftover, just like Cole Palmer wasn't a leftover. Those are players that they wanted to keep that were desperate to leave because they were good enough to play. Whereas Zinchenko and Jesus were being more phased out. Like, they were already kind of like, and Jordan is saying City wanted to keep Jesus as well, but Jesus was definitely being phased out. His playing time was lessened quite a bit. Where Alvarez, he's just a victim of them buying Haaland, but that guy he's more of a Cole Palmer than a Jesus. He's not a leftover. Like, he's not. He's very good. Foxy says Alvarez has been playing out of position for City and he still does a good job. Like, Alvarez is, I'm not even going to sit here and try to pretend like he's not a really, really good player. T. Brown says Jesus doesn't have the mentality to be a gunman. Keenan says Alvarez could get Golden Boot ahead of Haaland if he was a starting striker. He is clinical. His free kicks are nasty. And yeah. But yeah, like Jesus and Alvarez, I don't even think you can put in the same. And I love Jesus. I think he's a really, really good player. But Alvarez is different. He's different. H says Alvarez don't play well against us. Who does? What attacker plays well against us? Seriously. Like, what attacker actually plays well against us? I'm trying to think. Like, we have the best defense in the league. We make it almost impossible for you to score a goal. So I would not use an attacker playing against us as any sort of like indication of whether they're good or not. Like, we're the best. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, the one thing about Arsenal is we're the best. Watkins, Matas, yes. Watkins, he is scary against us. He is scary against us. Yeah. So he is the one. Let's say, yeah, Watkins. Watkins is the one guy that I think is probably always going to score goals against us because he just gets it. Like, he's just clear. But Rashford, Kane, but Kane, since we've been good, wasn't scoring goals against us like that though. Because okay, so the last 2 seasons, first of all, he didn't play against us last season. Oh no, he did at Bayern. Did he score a penalty? So he had a penalty for Bayern, and then the last time before that he scored against us was a penalty at the Emirates. So technically, he isn't good against this defense that I'm talking about right here. 2 penalties, both at the Emirates, but he didn't play well against us when we beat them 3-1 at the Emirates, and when we lost or when we drew against them at the Emirates when he was at Bayern. So not Kane, Rashford. So Rashford always scores against us, and Ollie Watkins. That's it. Maybe Kevin De Bruyne. You can give it to him too. So there's not very many players that play well against us anymore. So yeah, so Alvarez not doing good against us. Let's see. Jordan says Son is the one that scores all the time. Hate that guy. I hate him with a freaking passion. And I hate his goody two-shoe act too. It's so jarring. It's like, you're not that guy. You're not sweet. You're not cute. You're not any of that. You are a bastard. Like, all the afters, all the crying, the flopping, he sickens me to my core. Like, seriously, I cannot stand that guy. Anton Dunn says, Raw Keenan, is Alvarez paying you or something? He loves him, bro. He loves him, bro. He loves him. Shamaria says the way he missed that chance against City, it was so on purpose. It was so on purpose. Harrison said, put your dog in a cage. That is a rooster, if that's what you can hear. That is a rooster. Bex is asleep. So, yeah, that's not him. That's not him. Not now. So, yeah, Mata says, son is bullshit. Remember that tackle? Not a good guy, period. And then he cried, and I was like, but, like, this is who you are. This is you. Like, don't cry. This is who you are. Seriously. Keenan says Alvarez is like Lautaro Martinez with solid finishing. It's no brainer. So my take on the Alvarez thing is, if I'm not thinking about anything, if I'm not using my rational brain and I'm just talking for talking's sake, of course I'm taking him. If I'm not using my rational brain, I'm taking Gyokeres as well. But my gut feeling is that we wouldn't get Alvarez. My gut feeling is that we're not getting Gyokeres, and some winger will come up. But but also, Arsenal are probably still waiting on Nico Williams. I think that's their number one thing that they're looking at this summer is Nico Williams. He has, like, things with him in Barcelona have stalled quite a bit over the last couple of days. He's having second thoughts. They're trying to tell him that they're not going to wait from him next season. So I do think Arsenal want to see what happens with Nico Williams before they do anything else. He's the only winger we've been linked to seriously in any capacity. And so, if Barcelona start moving for Olmo, I can definitely see Arsenal one more chance, one more trying to convince Nico Williams before we move to anything else, because they want him bad. They want him bad. So yeah. ISNG says, why spend 60 million on a talent your rivals got for 6? Rather throw 6 million at 10 South American prospects. The thing about that, though, is Arsenal fans are not patient. And so, like, I don't see them being excited about getting South American prospects that you actually have to play and watch have to be kind of crap. Alvarez was a diamond, like, in South America, that was ready to step in to City, like, right away. But most of these guys are, like, super rough, so I don't know if we could do that or afford to do that at this point. But yeah, the Alvarez thing is just more like, it just feels very unlikely, but I'm not about to sit here and act like I don't think he's a really good player. Like, I'm not. Let's see. Keenan says, so Nico, Nelly, Trossard on the left and only Saka on the right. Nico Williams can also play on the right. I think that's a big reason why Arsenal really want him, is that he can play on both sides, so the only reason why he didn't play on the right for Spain is because they have Lamine Yamal there, but he can play on both sides, and he's played on both sides for Bilbao. So also it would help move Trossard to the central anyway, which needs to happen. I think Trossard needs to be moved to false 9, like, permanently. So if you have somebody else that can play on the left and on the right, then Trossard move his ass to the center. Yeah, Jagoon says Nico Williams would be the signing of the season. Hopefully Barcelona fumble the bag. Arsenal waiting around, they know that they're broke, so they're just kind of like waiting in the wings. So let's see. Junior says, I was watching in computer and now I'm on the phone. Nice. Keenan says Nico is right-footed though. Even if he is, like, he can play on that side. What is Pedro Neto left-footed? What is he? He's left-footed, isn't he? So, but he can play on both sides too. I think the problem is that Arsenal, I think Arsenal will allow a player that they actually really like to play on both sides, regardless of the feet. But he can play on both sides because, I mean, honestly, we also need to get beyond the idea that we can only play inverted wingers. But I mean, Arteta was brave enough to put Martinelli on the right at the end of the season. So why not? Why not? Why not? Let's see. Nico Williams is right-footed, and Pedro Neto, I think he might be left-footed. He's left-footed. So he could do the right thing, but he would also play on the left, and we know that. So they can play on both sides, you know. Blaze says, why some Arsenal fans believe Isak is a better option for us at striker because he reminds us of Henry or maybe something other. I mean, I think it's kind of like with Isak, it is like the reminding them of Henry, but like genuinely, he is really good. So I think if he wasn't good and people were just saying, then it would be like, yeah, it's just the Henry thing. It kind of reminds, but he's genuinely very good. And I think that's more of the reason why they like him is just because he's really, really good. And he's already Premier League proven and all that kind of stuff. Boxy, we're coming next summer. Don't worry. Don't get too comfortable with Isak. He might stay this season, but if you guys don't get Champions League, it's done. It's done. It's done. We're coming. He's our big signing of 2025. Didn't you know? Don't get too comfortable. Enjoy him while you have him. Social Join says Nico is ambipedal. He can use both feet. Dembele like he can use both feet, and so can Pedro Neto. And I think that's why we like both of those options. Because genuinely, the player has to be able to play on both sides. There's no point in getting somebody who's just a right winger because Saka is not hitting the bench. I don't know who needs to hear that. Saka is not getting benched. So the player has to be able to step in for Saka on the off chance that he is unavailable. And then the other person, or the other thing is he has to be able to play on the other side. Like, genuinely. Winning Wed says, I hate seeing Trossard on the wing. He's so greedy at times and slow. He is greedy. That's for sure. Keenan says Nico is not getting benched, yes, but Saka is not getting benched. So what is the conversation that we're having? Does anybody, if anybody is seriously thinking that Bukayo Saka is getting benched, like genuinely, seek help. You need to go to a doctor. Saka is not being dropped. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know who needs to hear that. This person needs to be able to play on both sides. So somebody else is not going to be. I'm not even going to get into this conversation with y'all. Because you guys are not looking at the clear picture in front of your face. The clear picture in front of your face is that Saka is not getting dropped. But if you were to bring in Nico Williams, he probably is not sitting on the bench. So what does that mean? What is the equation? What is the answer? Class, what is the answer? Like, what is the answer? Come on. Social Join says Neto is perfect because he has what Saka doesn't have, raw pace, because he's injury prone. Trossard minutes is perfect for him. Saves his health. Fair. Winning Ways says Brahim Diaz on loan. Eyes. Keenan says it means Martinelli's career is over. I didn't say his career was over, but I'm saying Saka's not getting benched. And you don't go get Nico Williams and sit him on the bench. So the answer is right in front of your face. Dell says Jesus looked like he was going to be a superstar. Jesus scored 41 goals in his first Premier League. 41 goals in his first Premier League, 56 starts. That's ridiculous. I wonder what happened up here. His mentality. I'm not saying that he's like a bad guy or anything like that, but you can like see the stress on his face. He just overthinks it too hard. I think that's more his thing. He's stressed out. Like he needs to relax. So yeah, Tawana says, yeah, Martinelli always getting the stinky end of the stick. So yeah, and H says Martinelli is better than Nico. to see it. I would like to see it. I would like to see Nico Williams at Arsenal just to see if Martinelli is like super clear of Nico Williams. Keenan says Martinelli is incredibly talented. I wouldn't want to guarantee Nico game time at Martinelli's expense. I mean, what do you guys think of Pedro Neto? Like, if Neto was here, you know, do you think he would sit bench? I don't know. Probably mostly because of his injuries. It's more of a safe bet that he would hit the bench. But Nico Williams, if Arsenal get their hands on Nico Williams, that boy is not sitting on the bench. That's all I'm gonna say. Tawana says play both and bench Saka for a game to see. That's if we get Nico. What, Tawana? Why do you hate Saka? Tawana, seriously, what is your problem? Why do you hate Saka? Let me know. I need to know because you've been on his neck since the beginning of the stream. Why do you hate Saka? What did he do to you? Keenan says Rice is dog shit at left center mid. All you dumbasses in the chat are shitting on Martinelli after one bad season because Rice is trash and can't play through ball. Ah, Keenan. Rice was not dog shit at left center mid. And we started playing really good. We were actually really, really good when Rice played left center mid and Trossard played. Martinelli had a bad season, some of it because left half space wasn't like it was last season, but genuinely couldn't trap a ball. So I don't know if it's so much about Rice. And at the beginning of the season, first couple months, it was Kai Havertz that was playing left center mid. So I know you have like an agenda against Rice playing left center mid. But I don't know if it's so much turning on Martinelli. I think some people don't rate Martinelli that highly. Maybe not as highly as I did before, but I just wonder what the left half space has to do with Martinelli just being able to pass the ball to his teammate, beat his man, take a shot, put the ball in the back of the net in a 1v1, because some of that stuff was on him. It wasn't just the left half space. So he needs to take some accountability, which I'm sure he is, but I don't know if I'm like comfortable with just blaming other players for Martinelli not having a good season. Because nobody else gets those caveats. Like it's just the players just shit, so yeah. But there's also, maybe if you play Rice as left center mid, the winger needs to be different. And maybe that's just simple. If Kai Havertz and Rice are playing in those positions, like if Kai Havertz is playing center forward and Rice is playing left center mid, then the left winger needs to be a different player. Maybe the left winger needs to be more like Trossard because that worked. That was fine. We banged. We scored hella goals like that. So, maybe it's just the combinations need to be different. Maybe Martinelli can play left wing if Gabriel Jesus is the forward or the center forward and the left center mid is somebody else. It's just combinations, but Rice was genuinely not shit at left center mid. Martinelli just didn't play well with him. I think it's more that than anything else. Martinelli is a good player with a lot to give, but he needs to improve in certain parts of his game. And I do think people that really rate Martinelli really just place all the blame on something else when I think we all know that his game needs to be elevated a little bit more. He needs to be able to solve problems. He kind of relies on his pace a lot. And sometimes against the better fullbacks, it doesn't work. He's kind of one-dimensional at times, so he has things to work on. Winning Ways says Nico Gabby battling on one wing and Saka Sane on the other. Quality wing is unreal. Winning Ways, you got expensive taste. You're not getting Sane and Nico Williams. You got expensive taste. Kalian says, hey, Jess, it was really awesome meeting you last Wednesday at Arsenal Bournemouth. I met you before the match. Oh, shit. I remember you. Let me find the picture. Kalian, I remember you. Let me find the picture. Before Bournemouth. Let's see. Hold for me to find it real quick. Did you enjoy the game? It was so fun. And is this you? Let's see if it is that you? Confirm. Is this you? This is you. Hello. It was nice meeting you too. I'm glad you came to the stream. Now we can put like a name to it. Clean. Leonide says, Leonide. Wingers 2024-2025 season. Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, Rafinha. Blaze says, I like Martinelli. He's a good player, but why Arteta always trying to buy a left winger with a high price? You know what? It's so interesting that that we continuously try to buy players in that position, even though Martinelli, I know Arteta rates Martinelli. I just think he wants something different in that position. And that's why we tried to buy Mudryk. I feel like people forget that we were literally going to spend like 80 million on Mudryk. And then now we're looking at Nico Williams, who's a player that can play on the left and also play on the right. And so I don't know, you guys. I don't think Martinelli is, a bad player, but equally, I don't think he's on the same level as Saka. I think, he has some things to work on. And I also think that the left half space can be more functional to help him out. So, yeah. Samuel says, I don't want Rafinha no more. Fair. So, yeah. But, yeah, guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. We've been talking for almost an hour and a half and, so another long show. But I really appreciate all of you guys joining. There's 130 of you guys in here, which is amazing. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully we get a uptick in information on Merino and hopefully an attacker soon. But we will be doing a watch along for the. Hold on real quick. Yeah, we'll be doing a watch along for the Liverpool game tomorrow. So I'll go ahead and spam the chat with the link. So you guys can go to the link and just use your email and code Jessica, JESSICA, to RSVP. We will be live about 5 minutes prior to, or 15 minutes before kickoff. So make sure you guys join. And yeah, I put the link in there a couple of times. So copy and paste that link and it'll take you to the watch along. And so I'm excited to watch us against Liverpool. I think we've done pretty well this preseason. I think we look better than we did last preseason, if that makes sense. So yeah. But yeah, make sure. Kalin, that was you. So nice to meet you. And yeah, look forward to seeing you on more streams. But yeah, guys, make sure you guys click that link to join the watch along for tomorrow. We probably do a stream before that, and then I'll just carry you guys across. But for those of you guys that want to RSVP ahead of time, you guys can like and subscribe on your way out. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.